Good morning. Today I'm going to take on a challenge for myself. I looked this deck and this book over yesterday, and I spent a lot of time with it because for one thing, I cut it down. I couldn't be shuffled, so I did cut it down. So now it's sort of borderless, and so I will be using it. It took me a while to get that done. You know, cutting down decks does take a while. Anyways, I went through the deck, I went through the book. I had read it when I first got it about a month ago, and then I re-looked at it. I looked at it again and found it to be really remarkable. There's so many decks out there that are, you know, they're very thematic, they're classic, they're ingenious, they're very, they're, you know, artistic. This deck is truly a cut above the rest. And but there's a fair amount to learn, I think, because it's pretty much abstract art. Now they have the names underneath, but I also want to get in touch with what she says about the deck, or her interpretation of the deck. And remarkably, it's all in this little book that comes with the deck, The Tarot by Margarete Petersen. This woman worked on the deck for 20 years. She's an artist. She wrote this book, and all of the major arcana are poems. So that in itself is remarkable, that she went through the whole major arcana and wrote poems about them. And then the thing I liked the most about, well, one of the things I liked about this book, she just has 4 pages that is so comprehensive. She talks about the 4 elements, and she talks about the numbers. So this would be for the minor arcana. This would be great if you wanted to read Marseille, or read anything, really. So the deck itself is a very abstract. There are, you know, as you look into the pictures, you see things. There are things to be seen. There's many things to be seen. But generally, if you just took a quick overview of it, it's very abstract. I want to learn the cards, and I want to learn how she sees the tarot, because I think that would help me in every aspect of tarot reading. I think this is not a deck for beginners, they say, and yet I think if you were to, I mean, I'm a beginner. I've only been doing it less than, well, about 3 months now. But I think if I go to this deck now with and start to look at this deck and start to really study it and read the book, and since the book isn't that big, I think I can manage it, that I would really find myself, after a certain amount of time, way ahead of the game. My plan is to do 30 days. They may not be consecutive days, but I want to read, my goal is to read 30 days, short readings. And as I read, I'll learn about the deck. I'm going to do short three card pulls and get a sense of the cards and get a sense what she says about the cards and see where I am 30 days from whenever I start. It won't necessarily, as I said, be consecutive days, but I'll try to make it as consecutive as possible. So this is not going to be a walkthrough. This is actually going to be a very primitive reading, because I really don't know all the information she's willing to share in this book. So let's get started. I cut the deck down because it was really big. I could not shuffle it. There's no way I could shuffle this deck. And I know why it's a big deck, because the artwork is just remarkable. But I cut it down. I took the outer borders and then left the bottom border. There's a little bit cut off on the bottom. So There are also YouTube videos about how to cut the deck down. Since it has a white border on the back, it's, you know, there's a white border on this, and you can just cut out the white borders, and you'll be, you know, it'll cut down on the size of the deck. So now I can actually hold the deck and actually shuffle the deck. So I'm very happy about that, because it was a bear. I couldn't, there's no way I could shuffle the deck. Right now it's still in order, so this could take a while for me to get this. So Margarete Petersen was born in Germany right after the war. From what I could tell, she was born in 1946. Now, you have to understand, 1946 in the United States and 1946 in Europe was a very different time. And I would think if you're in Germany, or actually wherever you were in Europe, it was a very different time. It was right after the war. I'm sure there were still food shortages. I'm sure there was still a lot of homelessness, a lot of problems. And she grew up in Germany. And in 1979, she began, or was, I'm not sure when she started working with the writer Waite Smith. She did start with that deck. And then, being an artist, she started to develop her own deck, and with her art. And apparently 20 years later, it was published. So this is something that is not an overnight thing that she developed. This was developed after a lot of thought. I would think after a lot of soul searching, a lot of meditation, a lot of painting. And then the book too is really remarkable. So together, this is just an amazing deck. It's a beautiful deck, obviously. Okay, so let's just pull some cards. I'm not sure how well I shuffled them, so I'm just going to pull a card. And if they are reversed, I'm going to turn them over. Because if they're reversed, they're all reversed. No, I think they're all in the same. There we go. Okay, so we'll start now. This is my first day working with this deck. I'm going to do readings. Generally, I think my question will be, what's my lesson for today? If I change up the question, I'll let you know. But what's my lesson for today? What can these cards tell me today? Oops, and they are all upside down, so I'm going to turn them over. Renewal. Renewal is the Judgment card. It's a major arcana, as we know. I'm going to read the poem that goes with that. And I'm reading the poem not for myself. I just, to get all the different nuances for this card. The mind's perception changes moment to moment. Serene, open, and relaxed. The door of transcendence opens up. A minuscule split in the dark and narrow cage. So there's the split. Welcoming the unexpected. All muscles and organs are letting go. Each cell is purified by breath and filled with sunlight. Circling like a spiral, you always encounter yourself and touch upon your own existence. Okay, so it's judgment, but she calls it renewal, which of course is much more appealing to me. The mind's perception changes. So you can see that when you're at a point where there's huge change in your life, your mind has to change perception. It does change perception. You can't help it. And she implies that after all the trials and tribulations, it will relax. Soon the mind perception changes moment to moment, serene, open, and relaxed. So whatever struggles you have, you let go of them. as the door of transcendence opens, as something remarkable starts to happen. The dark and narrow cage that you were in, life, I guess, I would say, a minuscule split in the dark and open cage. Welcoming the unexpected, all muscles and organs are letting go. Each cell is purified by breath and filled with sunlight. So she's describing the death, a death, not necessarily a true death, but it could be, certainly it could be a real death. And what death brings, and this is, she's talking specifically of that spark of change, where all of a sudden you're closing in on yourself. Your mind is changing. There's fear, there's darkness, and then there's a split, and all of a sudden everything opens up. Each cell is purified by breath and filled with sunlight. Circling like a spiral, you always encounter yourself and touch upon your own existence. So then you open up and you see yourself, the totality of yourself. I would think that you see yourself as mortal and as immortal. So this is the end of a cycle, the letting go, the crack that happens as light or transcendence happens, and then your self-knowledge. I mean, okay, that's going to happen to me today. Well, anyways, that's why I'm starting the day. I think it's interesting because this is how I'm starting the day, the first day of the Margarete Petersen. And that's how I'm starting with renewal. And this, an abstract painting, all of a sudden this makes total sense. No, let's go with the next card. The Ten of Coins. There's a lot happening here. I think, is this a labyrinth? Then there's something going on there. There's something up here. Ten of Coins. Okay. The minor arcana are is a narrative. So, wealth and arrival. The number 10 responds to the Ace of Coins. Now that's something to think about. I mean, your 10s and your 1s, the 1s of the aces, the 10s, when you take the 1 and the 0, you come up with 1 again. So she brings that together, the 1s and the 10s. They correspond. What once was only a seed has now reached maturity. Okay, now can you see why I'm loving this deck? So we see here the seed that was sown and now it's matured. The 1 was the spark and now the 10 is the maturity of it. The form of the labyrinth is very ancient. It was found on stones at sacred sites, in caves, and in churches all over the world. The card is all about leaving the security of the womb, symbolized by the 1 and the Ace of Coins, behind and going on a different journey. You have traveled through and over different layers of the earth, gathered experiences, and arrived at the center of your own self. Okay, so now we have this labyrinth. So it's telling us, there's more to say, but so this is the labyrinth. This is the 1, you were the spark, and this shows how you've traveled for the cycles over the 10, the course of the 10 of coin, the coin suit. It shows you traveling in the labyrinth. You have traveled through and over different layers of earth, gathered experience, and arrived at the center of your own self. The coiled up serpent pictured on the Ace of Coins has uncoiled itself and become your visible and invisible companion. I'm not sure where that is. Oh, I think it's in the center. It's hard to say what this is. Is that the center? I think it says uncoiled, though. That looks coiled. Maybe this one. Maybe that's it. So it starts, the coiled up serpent pictured on the Ace of Coins has uncoiled itself and become your visible and invisible companion. So you travel this journey with the serpent. The brain, as well as the intestines, are related to the labyrinth. Some cultures predicted the future by looking at the intestines of sacrificial victims. In the center of the earth, you will find that you are seeking the treasure, the diamond, pure and brilliant, free from all impurities and slag. Okay, now I'm not sure about what that means, but what I'm getting from it now is the travel, the journey I've taken from the 1 to the 10, and that's signified by the labyrinth. So there's more to learn with this card. We'll go to the tens, because she does have the numerology in this book, and let's just look quickly what the numerology says of tens. The numbers would be the same for every suit. So the tens, 10 is the last one of the cycle and consists of 1 and 0. The number is related to the ace and makes it visible its hidden potential. So at the 1 is the potential, and here is the what you actually achieved, I guess. Okay. Lastly, the 8 of Cups. 8 of Cups. 8 of Cups. Water element. Eight of Cups. Get to the bottom of things. To walk the narrow path into the deep chasms of the unconscious requires courage and determination. So we're diving deep. You can see there, the horizon is up high on this picture, and then there's the depth here. To go deeper requires courage and determination, losing your shape. Open yourself towards all those dark, formless, and obscure feelings that rise to the surface and reveal themselves in order to be seen. Part you have to do, part happens without you doing anything. This is all about accurately feeling and sensing and experiencing the subtle shifting of boundaries. To balance action and reaction requires great sensitivity. So the cups are, of course, the emotional, the water, the emotional suit. And this is where you're going inward and drawing up the buried emotions and allowing them. You can search for them, or you can just allow them, have an environment to allow them to surface. To me, this would be a meditation card. I have a feeling that all these are going to be meditation cards, but I think to access something below the surface, meditation is very good. So this could be your final step in completing this journey, this emotional journey, this emotional, insight or insightful journey that you're on, to go deeper and to allow things to surface. It could be emotions. It could just, I don't know, it could be anything actually. To access this requires sensitivity. I think sensitivity is not being, it's being open and not being judgmental. So that's what sensitivity, I think, you have to have for this level. Okay, so let's see what we have here. We have a renewal. This is, what's my lesson for today? We start out with renewal, where my mind is my mind previously constricted, previously maybe not in a very good place. But suddenly something happens, something changes, there's a crack, and all of a sudden there's light that's let in, and everything flips. All of a sudden I have great understanding. I am fearless. and I'm fearless, and I'm grateful. And I mean, what happens is I think this when this opening happens, all of a sudden it's another one, actually. It's another new beginning. I've come to the place, I have learned a lot in my journey. I've done a lot, experienced a lot. I've been successful. I've completed a cycle, an earthly cycle, maybe with my family, maybe with my learning. Well, I'm never done learning, but there's a completion card here with earthly matters, practical matters. But now it's time for me to dig deep and go into my spiritual life, my emotional life, my spiritual life, something that's buried. And I need a plan. I think I need a plan. So I'm open now, having done, completed, tangible, practical matters are all taken care of, which is actually quite true. Practical matters are all taken care of. And now I'm on another journey to dig deep and bring up sensibilities that are buried. And I would say bring this is a number 8, so this is coming on to another ending, but so to get to the ending I have to reach deeper. So that's the Margarete Petersen 3-card read for today. This is day 1. I know a little bit more about these 3 cards, and it's very exciting. Thanks for watching.